Hey there, happy Monday there, it's me, Curiosity Trader. Hopefully you're having a great Monday. Just gonna do a quick video lesson for the YouTube channel. As I mentioned, I'm gonna start doing these a lot more often. Just going over some stocks which I'm watching for the next day. Again, everything is for advice, is for financial advice only, alright? It's not stock advice. Please do your own due diligence. As I always say, in every video I do, you always want to find your method. And before I begin, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter. I'm going to go over some stocks. This is a 5-star setup right in front of you, my bread and butter setup. I went over already what I trade, how I trade, okay, and on yesterday's video lesson. So please, if you have not, I'm not going to, I want to call these Curiosity Daily. I can't say that right. Curiosity Daily, that's weird. But pretty much these are going to be like short videos where I just go over the stocks which for tomorrow. It's just stock charts for tomorrow of what I'm looking for, the game plan and all that. So if you have not, please watch yesterday's video lesson. I go over pretty much trading in a nutshell, where I'm at in my trading style. And of course, in every video lesson I do from here on out, like, you're going to understand what I trade and how I trade. And that's the point of me doing this, is tracking my process and route of becoming an elite trader. Once more, 95% will not make it in the long run. That's just because simply they don't have an edge. And I put this on Twitter just now. This is true, okay? I'm not going to read it all to you, but pretty much a lot of people overcomplicate trading, okay? It does not have to be overcomplicated, okay? And most people don't know what they're doing, and that's not their fault. They see a lot of people on Instagram, social media, flashing the money and all that. I call them furus, as I mentioned. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I am a consistent profiting trader. I'm en route of becoming that, as I mentioned from yesterday's scan. The goal of this channel is to be transparent all of the way, okay? But what I can tell you is I have a methodology that works. I backtest it with Edge, and until you do that, you're just gambling, okay? You're gonna lose your money in your broker account. And my job is to help you find out who you are. And again, don't copy my trades. Take something away from this and build upon it your own edge, okay? Success in trading is not about like copying strategies. No. Again, as I mentioned, the best traders in the world, the market wizards, most of them in common have one thing. They always have an open mindset. They learn from other elite traders and they build it upon their own. Okay, everything I have learned, I did not reinvent the wheel. Okay, I took it from other traders and I built it upon my own. I tested stuff. Sometimes it didn't work. Again, I get used to losing. Okay, I lose a lot, but most often than not, my losses are minimized where my wins are maximized. That's how you compound true wealth over time, okay? It's not that complicated. Just focus on your playbook, and once you do that, your sole mission is just to filter out the noise, okay? That's all you have to do. Just filter out the noise, and once you find your methodology, just stick with it, So I pretty much, the two patterns which I trade, I don't like, I go on X, right? I call it Twitter, sir. I go on Twitter and I see other traders as well that are well known, posting their own ideas. But like, I don't really let it affect me in a way, if that makes any sense. Because everyone has their own style, Like this guy, I don't know who he is, but everyone's trading their own way, I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just that's not my style. Why am I going to overcomplicate things in my head? I found what works for me. Therefore, I'm just going to repeat that over and over and over again. And become, as I mentioned, become the supreme commander of your playbook. Execute only the trades that meet your rules. No chasing, no forcing, no emotional decisions. Just disciplined execution, okay? That's very hard as a trader, but I get it. Over time, you will become the master. And this is what it takes. I mentioned every chart, it's the same thing. Human nature never changes. And once you train your brain to think in patterns, okay, you will be set for life. Okay? You will be set for life. As I mentioned, the best stocks move in stairs. We focus on stocks that move in stairs. And the one right in front of you, HPE, this is the pretty much bread and butter. Very similar to SNDK and ARM back earlier this year. It's pretty much the exact same move right here before it went on this nice rally. Multiple times, you know, stocks moving stairs numerous times before it went on that nice rally. You know, it's pretty much what's setting up. Again, I'm not saying it's going to make these moves like SNDK did or ARM did, but you see the similarity. What you call this is linearity. You call this linearity, okay? You don't think, nobody knew, right? This is going to go to the high of 2,300. Nobody knew it, but it's a strong stock, and you notice stocks move in stairs. As I mentioned, you know, a leg higher, right? Leg higher, consolidation for 2 months, you know, then what happens again? Then you have that next leg higher. Same deal. Next leg higher. Then the exact same thing. Leg higher, then consolidation, leg higher. This is how leading stocks move. And you want to focus on the leaders, because this is where the money's made, right? And now everyone's trying to find the bottom and all that stuff. But as I mentioned in yesterday's video scan, you know, these moving averages out of the 10, 20, and 50, these work like magic. Okay, I don't know why. I don't ask why. They just work. I studied the past. I studied chart. They work. Okay, they act the same on the way up as they do on the way down. On the way up, it's support. On the way down, it's overhead resistance. And now it's just a waiting game with all these. As I mentioned, the ones everyone's been watching, the semis and AI. We're watching. This has made a nice double bottom so far, so we're watching. Over 1,400, I may get long. That's a good setup on that one. Same with like the other ones I've been mentioning, like A and D. Obviously, still setting up very nicely, but these are the leaders. You know, everyone's been watching. Linearity. I want you to understand that word, linearity. Stocks that make a linear move, right? You want to find a stock that makes a linear move, goes sideways for a couple months or days or whatever, then has another range break. Okay, and in this time, you don't want to buy it. Like, I see a lot of people trying to anticipate the range break. Don't do that, because sometimes it fails, right? You want to buy it just as it's breaking out of those ranges, you know, just as it's breaking out of those ranges. And another perfect example is AXTI. This is a 5-star setup. Okay, former runner can run again. I always mention that, right? The big linear move, and now again, notice a theme. All these moves. You know, I always advise you, go to FinViz, it's free. Look at the big 6-month gainers. Okay, most of these stocks have all made a linear move, and all of them are on their backside of the move. That's not saying the stock is done. No, it's just stocks don't go straight up without pulling back, okay? But the best ones pull back and hold. Those are the ones that you know that institutions are buying, because those have value, right? You want to find the ones that have value. You want to find the ones that have a reason to go up. You don't want to focus on stocks that don't move, right? You want to focus on stocks with linearity, have a fundamental reason and a catalyst to go higher. That's really what your goal is as a trader. And many people will just focus on like randomness, and it can not lead you to random results, to bleeding your account, and you don't want that as a trader, you know. And it took me a while to understand that. As I mentioned, like, I have a penny stock scan right here, right, but there's no edge in my mind unless I see a low float runner, you know. But other than that, I don't really see no edge, because like the best trades are from like I can watch from the day before, except like EPs, you know, like BLZ Blaze is setting up very nicely. Former EP, episodic pivot, you know, although it didn't have like a monster move higher, you know, it consolidated, but like everyone thought it was going to go like this secondary EP, you know, this was a good EP. But now you can see here, congrats to those who are long, it had positive earnings, and it gapped up over that daily level. So I'm watching this one for tomorrow. The best time to buy these is on the opening range highs. Really, the further away you get from the opening, the less odds, you know, of success. You really want to get right in. So whether that be the first 10 minutes or 15 minute candle, always use low of day for this strategy. That's called an episodic pivot. A perfect example of one would be recently, it's been working out well lately. Ring, is it Ring RNG? Who's it at? Yeah, Ring. 5-star setup, The volume is very thin, so for small account edge, but it's holding really nicely. You see the gist here. The best time to buy it is like right out of the open, you know. But this is kind of a liquid, so it's not ideal. The pattern's there, but you want more volume. Always for an EP, okay. Always pay attention to volume and earnings, of course. You want to have positive outlook, okay. But earnings-wise, you have SNK reporting in a couple days. AMD as well reporting tomorrow after market close. And with these, you know, you don't want to try to guess earnings. That's one thing. So everyone's watching this. If they have positive earnings, then for sure, if it goes over this pivot point of $500, yes. But I'm not going to be. First off, I have a small account, so I'll rather trade the ETF. I'm not going to want to trade this into the earnings. I'd rather wait post earnings for the reaction, because to me, like, holding the stock through earnings is a gamble. So I don't do that stuff. And it's always blows my mind. I was watching it back in this day here, and it's just so much fun. It's a 5-star setup, by the way. It panned out, right? It didn't go to nowhere near the level which it did here, but the setup was still valid back in the day. It's always funny looking at stock charts. If you look at keep a list on the backlist, okay? Because most of them make big moves. They always do. Always set price alerts. Just because the stock pulls back, don't take it off scan. Always have it on price alerts, okay? Always have it on price alerts. But DFNS, I'm sorry if I'm going all over the place. Let's just go list by list here, shall we? The ones I'm watching. DFNS is a pretty much dead cat bounce type of play. I'm watching this one. I mentioned on my Twitter account X. Reminds you of Poet's. Poet when it had that nice short strap. Same exact move. I'm not saying it's gonna do that. This had a nice reversal. I don't think anyone expected this to go to the high of $21 from the low of what, $6? That's a massive bounce play. Ideally, this is a good shorting pattern, right? Because you want to short that resistance, but this was a short squeeze. So who knows? DFNS, the float is very thin, you know. And we always talk about this moving averages. Look how it pretty much based off the 10-day and 50-day. And we'll see. Over $70. If this does base more sideways, you know, creates a little ranges, and that's not good. Ideally, it'll go higher in my mind. So that's my main pivot point, $70. It's in a range right now. It's in a range, so no dice. And if you're trying to short this, then yeah, you can short this. Ideally, sub 40. You know, even sub 50. If this gaps down, it could be like played as a or risking a gap down play, risking red and green in my mind. That's that one. AXEI, pretty much. I'm watching this one set a beautiful range day off earnings. Former runner, okay, gapped up over these moving averages, pretty much basing over the 50. I'm pretty sure it's rejecting 100. I don't have it on my chart here, but I'm pretty sure I can find it for you. Again, these moving averages, yeah, the 100 days are pretty much at $70. So I'm watching it, you know. I have these alerts, so if it does break over those ranges, I'm going to buy it. That's a good setup in my mind. Former runner. BOZ, already went over, opening range highs, low of day stop. And with these EPs, you know, most of the time they pull back. You know, like for instance, always look for the previous day. Most of them like pull back from the open, they dip and they go again. And that's another thing I want to talk to you about. Like sometimes you will get stopped out in a stock, and that's fine. If the setup is valid, you have to rebuy, okay? If the setup and the criteria meets your method, your setup in a way, you have to get back in. Just respect risk. I'm not saying to have revenge trade. I'm not saying to, you know, throw down a hammer in size, but always protect risk, always protect capital, right? I'm saying though, like if you minimize the first loss, right, and if the setup reappears, you have to take the trade because the market does not give a fuck. It's just trading, okay? So ideally, this is gonna be my top list for tomorrow. Former runner, it's AI theme. So ideally, let's just wait for the open. Wait for what happens off the open, and we'll see how this goes. Dell ETF, setting up in a nice range, pretty much the exact same type of premise as the one I opened with. Which one was it? I even forgot about that one. How did I forget about it? I just did it. Same premise. You see the big linear move sideways and a range break on that one. Same thing. I'm watching. ADR is kind of low on that one. Microsoft or HP. I'm sorry. Same deal. You know, and always focus on ADR. You know, it does matter. Fast moving stock. It's 5.67. If you have a small account, you know, you want to focus on the highest ADR. But this setup is that one. This is the basic premise of what I do. Amazon, congrats to those who got this earnings. Ideally, troll today. You know, I prefer trading the ETF rather. It's a much lower price. What is the ETF? I think it's I think the ETF is much cheaper in my mind, so I always would go for that one. But same premise, you know, you have this gap up, and it's a basic premise of an earnings EP. You know, you want the stocks to gap up over like that resistance level, you know, over these moving averages in a sense. It's coming out of a clean range, right? And that's where these monthly moves come from. When they break out of a range, that's where it comes from. Let's see here. Nothing that one. Range short in the AMD earnings. I already gone over that one. S-Fly, nothing really else. ARM, nothing really. ENTX. That's really all I'm watching. Main ones, of course, Blaze, DFNS. I like for the potential liquidity trap. AXTI, opening range high over that pivot point, and of course, the one everyone else is talking about, Hewitt packaging, I suppose. And SNK earnings, you know, coming up. But that's really all I wanted to go over. The top one I'm watching, this one right here. This is the highest. Look at this shit. Okay, I'm sorry for cussing. ADR is 55%. This is what moves accounts. This is what moves the needle. So I'm watching this one for tomorrow. But other than that, hopefully you'll have a great trading day. And again, I'm gonna start doing this weekly. Or daily rather, Curiosity Daily, I call them. If you enjoy these, if you want to talk about something else, leave a comment, or if you have any questions or whatever, just drop it below. But other than that, I'll see you next time.